Hello everyone, I'm glad to be back again. Sorry for the interruption. We were having some issues with the internet connectivity. As a result of that, the webinar stream got interrupted. So pardon me for that. Now, as we resume, we will continue where we left. We were talking about these relational aspects of various currencies against the dollar, major currencies against the dollar. And I had shown you the charting of the Euro USD, GBP USD, NZD USD, AUD USD, and we had figured out, looking at the timeline of the formation of the highs and lows, that in today's session, GBP USD is one of the weakest currency against the dollar, followed by AUD USD, whereas to some extent the NZD USD and the Euro USD have been able to hold on to their gains. And if we have to go short in these major currencies, the first preference has to be with either the GBP USD, or if you feel like even AUD USD can be considered. But if we expect the dollar to remain on the weaker footing, and if things are likely to remain sideways, or even the dollar is likely to go in a downward spiral, in that scenario, it will be a better choice to trade with a long position in the Euro USD followed by the NZD USD. So let us now consider other three major USD currencies. We have USDCAD, USDCHF, and USDJPY. For CAD, the weakness is pretty much prevalent in today's session. It has continued to lose ground, and as a result of that, after making this low at 1.357, the USD CAD has continued to gain, and it is now significantly higher, almost 60 to 70 pips higher from where it was at its lowest point in day, and it is not showing any signs of stopping. So we have the lead on the bearish side with the CAD in today's session. The CAD is one of the most bearish currency against the dollar. The dollar has continued to stay strong, and after yesterday's gains, the consolidation is ongoing, with the buyers still favorably in the in the favor of bulls for the United States dollar, whereas Canada has continued to lose ground, and it is in a relative term, it is even more bearish than the AUD or GBP USD. It has not really made any fresh swing low, 4 hourly low in recent past. It its low came in quite early at 325 GMT. Afterwards, it had continued to make these higher highs, and as a result of that, it has to be given more importance for any trade in which we expect the dollar to be on these upward moving spree, and other major currencies to weaken against the dollar. Coming to the USDCHF, USDCHF is actually in a inverse position to what we are seeing in USDCAD. There, the CAD was on the weaker side. Here, the CHF is in a strong position, and it has gained considerable ground against the dollar. If we look at the USDCHF high for the day, which was at 0.9457, and now the low, this decline for the USDCHF is more than half a percentage point. That's quite significant, and even now it is not really far off from the day's low. So in that context, it has to be concluded that CHF is actually one of the strongest currency, even ahead of the euro or against the NZD, while trading with the dollar. So first preference now shifts to the CHF, while looking to bet against the dollar strength. And if you are going with the dollar strength in that scenario, the USD CAD is the currency cross to trade with. Before we complete our assessment of the currency market, forex market, of course we have to see what's happening, what's the development for USD JPY. USD JPY is looking like more of a middle of the chart currency cross. It is not extremely bearish or bullish. Now if we look at the USD JPY's price formation, it did declined significantly after making these high at 137.43. Then it for some time it even dipped below 136, but those losses proved short-lived, and it is now where it was a couple of hours back. So it is a currency cross in which there are not many signs of clarity in which we can be confidently bullish or bearish on this currency cross. So this is a middle of the pack instrument, and it is best avoided as we have much more clarity in USDCAD for going long in the dollar. And if you are not really convinced of the dollar's strength, then you can go with the USDCHF, where we have CHF gaining ground against the dollar. So that's somewhere you can expect to profit. Now we shift our gaze to the equity segment and see what's happening there. For the equity segment, we have the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and in it, the price action is also tepid. We don't really have any significant moves in today's session, and if we consider the price formation of the DX, it is a similar story. And I think this is likely to change only after the start of the North American trading session. So for next couple of minutes, actually, as we are not far off from the start of the North American trading session, we have to now make our assessment clear. And if we look at the larger time frame formation, the underlying momentum is still favorably inclined for the continuation of the bearishness prevalent in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So moving ahead, I feel if we see the Dow Jones Industrial Average consolidating closer to this immediate swing low, and if it doesn't really dip much below on the lower side, then in that scenario we can even think about going for the long trade, but that's going to be a risky bet. And as the things are more favorably inclined for the continuation of the bearishness, I think as long as we have these 34,000 level in place and there is no significant break sustained upward move beyond 34,000, till then we can be fairly confident of the continuation of this downward momentum. And as and when we see a fresh formation with the consolidation, we can try to initiate a new trade with the expectation of further decline on the lower side. Let's compare the Dow Jones Industrial Average charting with the other major equity indices for the US. This is the S&P 500. S&P 500 is also telling us a similar story. There is not much of a difference in its price action either. It is also equally tepid, and the range is fairly narrow of around half a percentage point for throughout the European trading session. So in this kind of scenario, it is indeed very difficult to trade with the conviction. So all I can say is that keep in mind this immediate swing high 4010, and if after a couple of hours, if we don't really see any significant move beyond this, then we can indeed think about going in for a initiation of the short sell trade anywhere closer to 4000 level, or close to these immediate swing highs, with the possibility of a continuation of this downward spiral which started in the yesterday's session. So moving forward also, I think it is more likely to see this immediate swing low which is there around 3984 to be broken, and the formation of a new swing low can be anticipated or expected. But whether the S&P 500 is the best financial instrument to trade in the bearish direction or not, for that we of course have to look at the formation, the timeline of the formation of highs and lows. The Dow Jones Industrial Average made its immediate swing low at 1550 GMT, and if we compare it to the S&P 500, S&P 500 made it earlier. So we have slightly more bearishness prevalent in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, but there is not much of a difference in terms of the magnitude of the decline. The NASDAQ is also dipping on the lower side, and as the US session is getting underway, we will have sharp moves happening now. So here in a current session, watch out for this level of 11,830, and if we don't really see any significant break on the higher side, I feel we will have good chances maybe after a couple of hours of consolidation to think about continuing to remain short in the NASDAQ or other US equity indices and a move towards this immediate swing low of 11,700 or even beyond that can be expected. So that is something which we can anticipate. And here the NASDAQ is actually leading this decline with this swing low coming in right now, whereas other equity indices are still slightly above the immediate swing low. So that is something about the more bearishness in Nasdaq compared to the other major equity indices for the United States. Now looking at the DAX chart, the DAX is also inclined for the continuation of the bearishness, but here I think it is more of a consolidation phase with bias to remain in this narrow range. So it is going to be a difficult call to go for a trade at the moment in the DX. Instead of the DX, we have the US equity indices, which are much better in shape if we want to go short on any of the equity index there. For the FTSE 100, the things have looked convincingly bearish, but now after the start of the North American trading session, it is jumping somewhat on the higher side. But if we look at its prior price trajectory, I think it is one of the most bearish equity index in today's session, and that is something which we will have to keep in mind. As of now, we have the short spurt, but how long this spurt is going to last, that is going to be an important question. And as I said in my earlier remarks also, we will have to watch out for the immediate swing high around 34,000, and that level will need to hold, and there should not be any significant move beyond that, and couple of hours of consolidation before we can finalize our assessment and try to profit from that. So that's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write back to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. That's all from my side for today's session. If any of you have any a discussion going ahead, you can give me the feedback, and I would be more here to resolve your queries. So thank you all for joining in. I'll be back tomorrow with the fresh assessment of the developments leading into the North American